Issue 231. We start out being told that after the Death Egg was damaged last time, its wreckage fell into the Emerald Coast. Sonic teases Porker, "Don't worry, Porker, I'm sure the rumors about a secret army of badniks were totally exaggerated." And when Porker says Kintobor would have picked up badnik activity, Tails says with a smile for some reason that it's just Sonic's sadistic sense of humor again. Sonic tells Porker condescendingly that they're all here to babysit him while he looks over the systems. It tells him to at least hurry up as he's impatient. Amy says optimistically that at least the lifts in the Death Egg still work, and Sonic jokes amusingly, "Of course you didn't expect old Walrus Chops to use the stairs, did you?" The lift starts moving, and after Sonic says it's gotta be one of Eggman's schemes, Amy flirts with him, calling him a hero who will protect them, and Sonic lampshades her, starting that again after eons of not flirting with them. Porker gets freaked out by a clanging sound and cowardly wishes he'd never come on the mission. And then Tails calls out a laughing Sonic for making the noise to scare him. It's like the Antoine and Sonic dynamic, if Antoine never did any jerkish or mildly irritating. And no, early Archie Sonic was still way more of a bully to Antoine than Sonic is to Porker, oddly enough. Then the heroes get threatened by menacing looking badniks. I guess they're saying badniks as in regular robots. There's no way people with organic batteries would have survived that long to be put in badniks. They avoid some lasers from badniks, and Amy says the robots are shutting down all exits. Tails attacks the robot, and then Sonic merely insults his pathetic attempt at a badass one-liner instead of acknowledging his accomplishment, snarking, "Examine this? That's the best comeback you've got, Pixel Brain, you're beyond my help." He's not even smiling to be just teasing him. I don't hate him, I'm just mildly annoyed. Porker overrides the door locking mechanism. Sonic briefly gloats about how he was right that the Death Egg would have danger. And then they go up to a computer system that would keep plotting against Mobius after Eggman was long gone. Then the computer responds that there's no current attack plan, and no weapons, badniks, or traps left. Sonic calls the computer a cybernetic moron when it's not a cyborg at all, and Amy suggests that the computer was just attacking them in self-defense while the Death Egg was running a science research program. The program was a plan to create robotic scientists to replace Eggman's science team with advanced AI. There's so much text and exposition on this one page, it's intimidating. When the Death Egg crashed, the offensive systems were no longer valid, but the research has continued to be developed. Amy looks on the bright side of the situation there, and Sonic briefly dismisses that and gives Porker a sore reminder about when he was kidnapped for months, saying that Eggman tried something like this before with the Metalics. Well, I guess the idea is that he thinks the scientists that are robots would be evil. I mean, they would be made by Eggman after all. So they would just be a villainous team, but Sonic really should have emphasized that a lot more. Because instead, it's gonna kind of look like he's making a mistake rather than preemptively doing a preemptive strike against some robotic scientist villains. Porker says that the computer has innovations in transport technology, energy-saving devices, and even research into curing illnesses. I mean, that's the bright side to Eggman being a scientist. Even if he does want to rule the world and be evil, he still conducted research on good technology that would benefit the world, even if it's just to benefit himself. For example, he'd probably only find a cure to an illness just to hoard it for himself. But then eventually it'd be discovered and be beneficial. Sonic cynically insists that no good will come of this place just because Eggman built it. And he impulsively presses the convenient self-destruct button that shouldn't have logically been made, and frustratingly leaves with his friends briefly telling him off about what he did. Sonic's character is interesting in this comic. He's very genre savvy, but sometimes that leads to him being wrong genre savvy and a know-it-all, where he applies his cynical genre savviness to the wrong situations. So it's pretty realistic and deconstructed in how his experience with adventures is handled, and here's where it backfires big time. I mean, I'm pretty sure that robotic scientists would be worth all of those good technology innovations. You've dealt with plenty of villains before. On the bright side, I'm sure Techno and Porker could have done all of those positive technology things anyways. But what if Sonic destroyed all the research on the cure for cancer there? Also, saying Techno's name reminded me, why was Techno absent from the Adventure adaptation? Why was it Porker who had to be the engineer in it? I guess she ate some really bad soup that day. In the next story, after we see some ghosts terrorizing Porker in the dark, Rouge threatens him, saying that she'll smash a trinket and summon the king of the Haunted Hill Ghosts if he doesn't tell her the combination code for the emerald box. Knuckles tells her she can't get away with those emeralds. Surprisingly, Chaos isn't able to command the ghosts, somehow. And Rouge says she's blocked off the exit tunnel and Porker will never be able to climb the shaft quick enough to avoid the king ghosts. Since Porker doesn't want to risk the lives of his friends, he tells Rouge the combination code, and when she opens it, she calls up robots along with the ghosts and leaves, calling Knuckles gullible. Knuckles tells his friends to stay completely still, and the ghosts actually leave. Knuckles explains that without Rouge to command it, it didn't care enough to attack. Rouge was commanding it? How? How do you put a brainwashing chip inside of a ghost? Why would it follow her commands? How could he have possibly known this plan would work? How could she have possibly known this plan would work? It would have been more natural if they all stood still, paralyzed in fear, and that's how the ghosts left. But even then, it's not like they have fake Jurassic Park dinosaur vision where they wouldn't notice you if you don't move. Why would evil ghosts just leave them alone? Knuckles tells Tickle that not only did he unlock the emerald box, he also raised the temperature on the thermostat, and he reminds them that when the emeralds aren't cool, they warp back to the special zone. I thought they just became more unstable and dangerous and radioactive. This issue is by Ed Reynolds. In the first story, Sonic and his friends go through the remains of the Death Egg in Emerald Coast. What took them so long if it's been here for years? And then after Sonic makes some amusing jokes at Porker's expense and a not so amusing joke missing the point at Tails' expense, he makes a huge mistake by impulsively pressing the self-destruct button on a place that was carrying out tons of positive scientific research, including researching cures for illnesses. Granted, for all the heroes knew, the computer was programmed to recognize and lie to them about whether there would be attack plans against Mobius by the robotic scientists later. But if there hadn't been any carried out by now, there never would be. It would have felt better if Sonic made it very clear why he was doing what he was doing, and if it was made more clear that Porker and Techno would be able to make those positive scientific changes themselves anyways. Like, we could have had one panel showing that in the future they did do that. Also, if Porker dropped out of the Freedom Fighters from cowardice, why did he go on this mission and not Techno? Why isn't he on Angel Island with his best buddy Knuckles? In the second story, as Knuckles, Tickle, and Porker give the Emerald Box to Rouge and stay still, which for some reason causes the evil ghost not to try to kill them. When Rouge said badniks, I thought she was sending them against the heroes, which would have forced them to move. That was dumb of her. I don't understand how they survived. That was very convenient for them. Also, Chaos doesn't get accepted as the leader of the Ghost Army for some reason. I guess they all hated him? And is stuck with Big some more, who briefly considers eating him as a snack even though he's a sentient being. But the way Rouge's plan failed also has some cleverness to it because Knuckles turned up the temperature in the box, making the emeralds decide to warp back to the special zone rather than becoming radioactive like it was previously established in the comic. So again, huh? Well, I think I have vague memories of the emeralds warping to the special zone really early in the comic, but that was so long ago. Like, it's just like how I briefly forgot, like, by the time that we had the Dracons revisited in the Adventure adaptation, I had forgotten that the emeralds originally belonged to the Dracon Empire, because the lore about the Chaos Emeralds and Master Emerald in this comic is so rarely brought up that sometimes you just completely forget about it.